G'day, it's Rob here again. Well, today I've got another box to open up and have a look at, and this came from Vevor. I went through their product range and looked at what they had, which is quite extensive, and I picked out a benchtop belt sander. Now these can also be referred to as a linisher, and they're really invaluable if you do metalwork and woodwork too, I suppose. They're pretty handy for woodwork. I suppose people associate it more with woodwork than metalwork, but yeah, if you do metalwork, one of these is pretty hard to beat, because with metalwork, you know, you want to break those sharp edges, you know, burrs and stuff, and this is what you would use. So I'm going to look at this mainly from the metalwork perspective, but yeah, woodwork, this is probably what this is set up for. I expect that the belt on it will have probably a grip which will be aimed more for wood than for metal, but we can soon fix that. So anyway, yeah, let's have a look. Now the box got a bit knocked around coming through the postal service, which isn't surprising. I'll show you what the damage is. So here's the damage. So you see that's the bottom of the unit there, appears to be. So I don't think it's really going to have suffered. Hopefully everything will be okay. I think that the rest of the box has done its job, and we'll open up and see what it looks like. Well, I've got a hard time in the post. It's been, look at that, it's been really kicked around. I mean, hopefully this will do the job, but it's got a beating. Look at this. God almighty. Generally the postal service is not bad, but wow, they've really hammered this. Okay. I presume that's meant to be off. I hope so. Alright. I'll get all the bits out and we'll see if there's any damage. I think it might be okay. I hope so. Well, despite getting a really hard time in the post, it seems to have come through undamaged, which is a testimony, I think, to its strength rather than anything else. It's certainly a solid little unit, very thick metal on it and all this. So you get this unit, and it requires a bit of assembly. So here's some, look like legs, like little rubber feet and things for it, bits and pieces. So we'll have to, I think, put these on the bottom. And then we get a protractor, sliding protractor, which is for a table that fits on. This is the table. So that has to hook on, and then we have a sanding disc which has to go on, so that goes on there, I expect, and the table would fit underneath it, and that would be how the unit is then configured. The linisher I've got at the moment isn't horizontal, it's vertical, and it doesn't have one of these. I mean, mine's very, very basic, very, very old. Now with these, as I understand it, they'll tip up, so you can go horizontal or vertical. And this is also a lot bigger than what I've got. The one I've got is only half the size. This is a 4-inch wide belt. Mine's only got a 2-inch wide belt, and it's a lot longer belt as well. So this is a much, much bigger unit, you know, than what I've got, but it's still pretty compact the way I've kept it. You know, it's size-wise, it's not bad at all. Now you also get a set of operating instructions, and these are in English. At first glance they look pretty good. So this will tell you how to assemble it and give you some of the features. I'll have a read of that. Yeah, see, there it is in the vertical position as well. See, so yeah, looks like a pretty handy unit. and as I said, it looks very, very well made. Now the reason I chose this is because A, they're something I think every workshop really needs, and B, I mean, it looks to be a good unit, the way it's built in the photos, and the price is quite amazing, $148.99 Australian delivered, so that's $149, and if you compare that to one very, very similar from one of the major distributors of machinery, they want $320, basically more than twice the price, and you've got to pay for delivery for what is basically a very similar looking unit. So that's a hell of a difference. This is basically half the price. And then if you look at one of the other big distributors, they have a smaller unit, probably I'd say 2/3 as big, a different configuration, but similar sort of operating arrangement, and they want $219 for that. So this is bigger, cheaper, and yeah, looks to be the business. So I'll get it together and then we'll come back and see how good it really is. Right, so we've got the feet on, the full rubber feet. There's a spare one as well by the look of it. I presume that's the spare. Now we put on the disc, the sanding disc. Now it's interesting, with the instructions they say there's a cover. It looks like a plastic cover that goes over this, which you don't get. And it also shows that the cover is bolted on to this guard in 3 places. There's 3 holes in here. Well, there's no 3 holes in there, so obviously that's for a different version. You don't get a guard, no big deal. And this just goes on, it's just got a grub screw, Allen key. So that just goes on, like so. And just tighten her up. There's a little flat there, you just line the flat up with it and it's good to go. So that's that. Right, so now this table's got a mount here, and to mount that's there, you use this shaft. So it's got a long flat and a short flat. So the short flat would be for this end. It doesn't tell you in the instructions, but that's the only way it can go because you don't use all the flat anyway. So that goes in there, we'll tighten that up. Then we push this into here. They say leave a 2mm gap, so you know, as long as it doesn't rub's the main thing. So we'll give it a bit extra, it won't really matter. Then we do this one up. And then you can loosen this bolt here and that will let the plate swing down so you can do different angles on the edges, and yeah, it's all pretty good, pretty robust the way it's made. This hole here will take this shaft here, so I'm presuming you can, let's try it and see. I'm presuming you can actually put the table in here and then swing this up into the vertical position. Yeah, that's how that would work. And you can use the sanding table on the end as well, so that would come up vertically. Tricky, tricky. Now these 2 nuts here, one here and one there, you loosen those and that lets you then move the arm into whatever position you want. And then you retighten it, so that's how that works. And these 2 bolts here, you take out the top one, and that's what holds your stop in place. Once again, the instructions could be a lot better. They're more than a bit basic. Anyway, you can figure it out, but it's better if I show you, I suppose. So, get that in there. And this is the spanner they give you. That's not too bad. Yeah, so now she's all together. I mean, I would normally use it in the vertical position. The direction of rotation is down, which is good. That's what you want with these, so that if anything catches and flies off, it's going to go down onto the floor rather than fly up into the heavens and be lost forever. And of course it's got to push against the stop, so the belt has to go this way. Now the grit on this they've given is fairly coarse. It's what you would use for wood, which is what I thought looking at the pictures. So I'll get a metal one suitable for metal with a finer grit, and yeah, use it like that. And here's the motor. All the wiring looks good quality, decent gauge, quite well done. But the metal and everything is all good gauge, like it's very, very well made, very solid. It uses a little V belt here, so it's not a tooth belt, it's just a V belt. And you can adjust the tension on these bolts on the base. And yeah, a little 376 watt, 375 watt motor, spinning at 1420 RPM. Now I can work out the belt speed from this, so I'll basically do some calculations and see what the belt speed is, and I can compare that to mine. Right, well I've crunched the numbers and the belt speed is 277 meters per minute. Now my old one that I've been using for years, the belt speed is 230 meters per minute. So this is just slightly faster, not enough to be really noticeable, and that's pretty much the perfect speed for these. You don't want them going crazy, you know. Too fast is no good, otherwise stuff will fly off and they'll eat up the job too quickly. So that's a nice steady speed. Yeah. Now this is the stop that you set the angle of your belt on, and it's adjustable. It threads through the base, and then you've got a lock nut here. The only thing is that this is a different size nut to all the rest. All of these are all the same, but that one's bigger. So yeah, something to watch out for. No big deal, but that's the way it is. Now with the table, which is aluminium, which is good to see, you got a little angle protractor on here. It's yeah, lightweight, but it will do the job. That's all you need really. So you can get your angles set with that. Now I haven't played with the tracking, but just see how it is. I'll just kick it over just to see it's tracking acceptably, otherwise yeah, I'll have to adjust it. That's good. So it's very easy to adjust the tracking with this adjuster here, piece of cake. Overall the whole thing's pretty quiet. Looks like that must be stuck on with some sort of heat glue or something. I don't know anything about these, I have never used these before, but yeah, I presume it's some sort of heat sensitive glue, so you could probably buy these with a sticky back on them as well, I should imagine. And of course they're just regular old belts, and to take your belt off you just loosen the cam and it slides off the side, so that's good. Got a plastic roller here. It's running in ball races. I can see it's got seal bearings in there, so it's not running in bushes or anything rubbishy like that. It's all being done properly. And once again you've got bushes, ball races down this end as well, so yeah. Interesting. So this looks like it's maybe an 80 grit, which is coarse. I'd go for a 120 looking at this. So this is really a belt you would use for woodwork. But I mean, everything's nice and flat and well done. Good quality, heavy paint on it. Very, very good. I'm really impressed. It's great, really. Now the idler and the drive pulley on this are both some sort of poly. This is the difference where there is between the more expensive models and this basically home user grade machine. They will be aluminium on a more expensive machine. Does it really matter? Well, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference really for just home handyman use. These should last quite okay. They're running in steel bearings. I think they do the job. The belts never get that hot anyway, you know, and any dust is going to be flying off the top. So I wouldn't get concerned about it. For the money, that's what you're going to get though, and that's the way it is. Now the belt that comes with it is an 80 grit, and that's for wood. It's far too coarse for metal, not if you want any sort of decent finish on it. And I would normally use a 120 or a 100 grit. They are a big belt. I mean, that's a good size. They're 915 by 100, and yeah, it's a big long belt, so you should get quite a bit of life out of it. I went in and bought a couple of 120s just a while ago. So here you go. So you buy replacement belts, which, you know, in this case they cost $10 each. So each of those belts is $10. It's a heavier belt than this, but not massively. That's, you know, reasonably lightweight belt. These are more industrial grade, and that's what I'll be putting on because, yeah, these are not the way to go, not unless you're doing woodwork. They're good for woodwork, that's what they're meant for, but they're not meant for serious finish on metal. It'll just be too chewed up. You can see the finish on there. I mean, it did the job, but it's left marking on it. And if you want a fine finish, well, you go for a finer grit. You can see how that's broken the edge. But yeah, they work well. So belt changes are very fast. So you can see that's given a better finish. You're always going to get some marking on it, but I mean, as the belts wear, so you get more of a polishing effect from them as well. But anyway, that's the grit you should be using for metal. 120 or 100, preferably 120. Once again, it's no good pushing down real hard on these belts. You just tear them up. You want your belt to last as long as possible, so treat it with respect. I'll put a bit of wood on there. Here's a bit of hardware that I use for blocking up stuff and sand that. Good. after using it for a little while, the drive belt's loosened off a lot, quite a bit as it's bedding in. So to prevent slippage in the belt, we're going to have to adjust up the motor. So I'll adjust it up, and then we can give it a better load test to see how it handles the work. Right, I've adjusted up the belt, and it's yeah, it's about right. Before we do this, put some texture marks each end of the plate here, so you can keep your alignment correct. The way it comes from the factory is pretty good. So yeah, you want it equidistant anyway, from here to here, here to here. So yeah, just put a dab of texture on there, and then that will help you keep your alignment, because you've got to loosen these 4 bolts right off. Then pull the motor out a bit, and it can go sideways as well. So it's got adjustment on 2 planes, 2 axes. So yeah, so we should be ready to go now. The motor's got plenty of power, no problem whatsoever there. But the limitation with it is going to be the drive belt. Ultimately, even though that belt's adjusted up nicely, the bottom, the drive pulley, will ultimately slip on the belt if you bog down the sander. So yeah, you can only go so hard with these things. So that's basically it. You can't stall the motor, not unless you really do that up rock hard, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, overall it's got the power. It's all down to the user, really. So what do I think of it? I think it's pretty damn good. I think Vevor have done it again. They've given you a good quality unit where it matters for not a lot of money. And I mean, this is really quite well made. Everything's flat where it should be, and plenty of power. It tracks well, easily. The belt change is easy. Yeah, it's quite adaptable what you can do with it. It's quite a good little machine. If you're going to compare it to the opposition, well, it's half the price. And for half the price, you don't get aluminium idler or drive pulleys. You get poly. I don't think it's going to matter for home use. The amount of use won't be massively enormous. And I think they'll wear quite okay. There's no real heat problem with these sort of things. They generally run pretty cool on the belts and treat it with respect. And yeah, I think it should last you a long time. Probably last you out. All right, so where to get it? Well, go to the link in the video description and you can see where the product is. Go and look at their range of stuff. They've got a big range of stuff. They've also got the same unit as this for an extra $20 with 2 dust extractor ports on it. Now, none of the opposition that I looked at had dust extractor ports at all, so that's a big plus. So if you're doing woodwork particularly, and you've got a vacuum, dust extraction set up in your workshop, I'd go the extra $20 and get the ports. You might as well have them and use them. For metalwork, it doesn't matter. You don't really need it, I don't think. It's up to you. For metalwork, you really want to change the belt. This is a belt for woodworking, and even for woodworking, if you want to get a fine finish, you want to go to a finer grit, like a 120 or a 100. This is an 80, which is, it gets it off quick, but you don't get the nice finish. So, yeah, belt choice will dictate the finish. And ultimately, another belt for this is like $10, so it's no big deal. It's a readily available size, so it's not some, strange thing you're going to have to hunt around for. And, yeah, that's about it for the review. I recommend it. I think it's unbeatable for the money, really. And, yeah, if you're doing metalwork or woodwork, I think one of these is a must-have. Okay, that's it for me. I'll see you next time. Cheers.